y'all. Welcome to another episode of the Six Figure Vet podcast, where we showcase the success stories of Black and Brown veterans who have successfully unlaced the boots. Now, today we have the host and founder of the Abundant Behavior podcast, Mr. Ollie Banks, coming through to talk to us about the importance of the Black male's mental health. Ollie is the epitome of holding things down and moving in a positive direction and holding oneself accountable with putting footwork to vision. Ollie isn't just the host of the Abundant Behavior podcast, where he motivates others to have a more abundant life. Ollie is also a well-established photographer, father, aspiring motivational speaker, and entrepreneur, y'all. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Ollie Get Money Banks.
I appreciate that introduction. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on your platform. It's definitely a great opportunity to speak on this mental health month, especially for black men. It's definitely something that we need to speak on more and more. I feel like there's not a lot of spaces open for us to speak on it, so I'm definitely grateful to be in this opportunity today for sure.
Most definitely. And when I was thinking about like, okay, I need to have a Black man on, that is all about positivity and that is not afraid to speak up about mental health, like you was the first person to came to mind because you are so positive. And I just feel like within your own platform, you show up so authentically. Like you don't just, you know how sometimes you have those gurus that's just like, yeah, today I made $1 billion, but yesterday I was broke sleeping in my car.
Yeah, I'm showing the footwork. Yeah. I'm showing people what hard work and consistency look like. Like a lot of people right now, they like, man, you 2 seasons in, 24 episodes, less than 2 years. That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
It's consistency. It's like not even worrying about the views. You get caught up in that a little bit too, right? And that's a part of mental health, but it's just staying consistent because the end goal, so I appreciate that.
Of course. And I definitely want to touch on how, with showing up as your authentic self and in this world of content creation, when you're trying to become something, I feel like whatever field you pick nowadays, it comes with content creation. I don't care if you're a masseuse, like you gonna end up in content creation if you're trying to get your brand out there. So I definitely later on in the episode want to talk about how not to do that. How not to get caught up in the numbers and the likes and why my shit ain't going viral yet, right?
That whole conversation with yourself. Yeah, that's very important for sure because you do get caught comparing yourself to other platforms. Because nothing is new under the moon and stars. So you out here like, okay, what they doing? All right, let me see if I could do it this way and that way. But it's just like I've come to realize like it's literally you can put the work in, you can put up the best video out, the best 30-second clip, 20-second clip. God gonna move it where it needs to be when it needs to be moved. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most definitely.
So that's just super important. Knowing like you doing it for more than the transactional part of it. It's for more like relationship based things. It's like to serve him. So as long as your platform is to serve him, it shouldn't matter if you're going viral or not. It should be if you're serving him, knowing like at some point when he's ready to shed that light on you, you got all the tools inside of you because he's been building you up all this time,
Love that. So with this being Mental Health Awareness Month and with the conversation surrounding Black men's mental health, I would like to ask you first, Black man, how are you doing today? How is your mental?
Mentally, I'm great.
Oh, we love to hear it now.
Great. I can run through a wall right now. If I was any better, I'd be in heaven. I feel great, man. I get my morning routine in, drop my son off this morning, went and got some breakfast. I just like to take care of myself. That's really important to me. At this like age that I'm in right now, just making sure the right people are around me and I'm surrounding myself with positive people and good food, man. That's another thing too, like really working out and like eating good whole foods. That's like really important, man. So I'm great this morning.
I love to hear that. So give us a little bit of backstory about Ollie. For the listeners that don't know who you are or a little bit about your background. He comes from the Chicago. So I want to hear a little bit about, how you grew up. What was it like living in Chicago? Who was Ollie? Was you are you from 63rd?
See, look, you funny. No, I'm not actually. So I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago. I was born in the hundreds. It's crazy being on this side of the interview because I'm used to asking these questions to other people. So I was born on the south side of Chicago, born and raised, and I moved around a lot. Like I went to school in the hundreds predominantly. So like, if you're not from Chicago, people that's from Chicago, they're gonna know what I'm talking about. We moved around a lot. I lived on the east side of Chicago. I was born on the west side of Chicago. And my upbringing, like most black people, you grow up in the low income community. You barely have much, but you make do what you have. And I think like a lot of the way I am today came from like my beginning. Like I didn't have much, so I learned how to appreciate what I do have a lot sooner.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very important on my journey, just knowing I come from humble beginnings, and it always gave me a drive to make it out. Like I always was starving to make it out, make it somewhere. So yeah, everybody have their adversity growing up, dealt with bullying in third grade, like real bad because of my skin color. Like, and because of that, I was really insecure. And those insecurities led up from high school, even in the early parts of the Navy. I really didn't like have confidence in myself. And that's super important. Like a lot of the childhood trauma can't like that builds up over time because it's never resolved. And you just never know why it's pouring off into like your relationships, like the way that you do work, the way that you interact with people. You think back like, man, okay, maybe I should fix this, that, and the third. So yeah, that was like, so a lot of my childhood, man, I try to like put it in the back of my mind because it was terrible, especially third grade, man. It was terrible. We didn't have much. Got made fun of for the clothes, and so like I always wanted to be something. Like from that always made me want to be something. Like, but I just always wanted to be something. And so that's what I told myself I was going to do, man. I wasn't really good at school, but when I decided to join the Navy, I told myself I was going to hit the ground running. I didn't care what it took. I had to be successful. Like I had to prove people wrong. Like that was my driving force in the beginning, just proving people wrong. Like showing people that I am somebody, I am something. Like so.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what made you choose the Navy? You saying I want to be something, and you got like I'm from Alabama. We ain't got no legends from in Alabama. You know what I'm saying? We got Charles Barkley, but that's about it.
Y'all got Gucci.
If he don't even claim us, he don't even claim us.
He claim Atlanta for real. But he from Alabama. You got to do your research.
Right. Look, he from Bel. You got to dig in the history books to find out Gucci from Bessemer.
I only know that because it's crazy because my brother's wife is related to Gucci some way, somehow, of people in Alabama. It's crazy. But yeah, it's funny. So yeah, the Navy actually is because I had a cousin at the time. This was like 2014. One was in the Army, one was in the Navy. Every time they would come home, the whole block was shut down. They had I was just enticed. They had all the women. They had nice cars. They had really nice clothes. And for me, I'm like, the military doing that for y'all?
Right.
I'm like, man, I got to see what's to it. And so I'm talking to him. My cousin, he done been in San Diego. He's still in EN1. Well, yeah, he's an EN1 in San Diego. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm seeing him in San Diego. He was in Bahrain. I'm like, man, like, and my brothers, they like, man, the Navy is this. I'm like, I'm trying to see what that's about. I'm like, why would I go to school when they getting paid to learn something? I was like, man, if I can get paid to learn a skill and get out of Chicago, please sign me up. So I went in there, man. At the time, I didn't know how important the ASVAB score was, but I scored a 36. If you know, you know. Look, they said, what you got? I said, what y'all got for me? They said, you could be a cook. I said, hey, man, please.
Sign me up.
Sign me up, man. And it was the best decision of my life. The best decision of my life ever was to join the Navy. But yeah, it was just watching my cousin's success from afar and just wanting to like, it was material at the time, but at the time that was my driving force and it got me to where I am, and you start to realize the material stuff is not important as you get older, you know what I mean? But originally it was just the money, to be honest. I wanted to just touch a bag.
Listen, I understand. I feel like, with most of the African American or Latina, Black and brown military members that I know, we very select few of us don't come from humble beginnings.
Right.
Like most of us came from the hood, a project, or just like low income families. So that's our driving force. Like, I don't know what I'm about to do, but I got to get up out of here.
Yeah,
like, I gotta go.
It was super scary looking at, man, because I'm looking into the cooks. I'm like, man, they do look like they don't get no respect on the ship. Just from like, if you looked at it, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm making the right decision. But I said, I had to step into the unknown at the time. I really just didn't care. I needed to do something. Because college, it was over with for me, man. I partied. My grades was well enough to stay on the baseball team. I ain't even play baseball to my senior year. I like stopped junior year. I said, all right, I'll go ahead and do it. But you know what's crazy about that? My brother went to take his ASVAB score. I went just because my like junior year, and I really just like was in there just cause, and I
Just playing around.
ran around and I used that same score to get in a year later. Yeah, so it's all in God's
We
time.
don't advise that. Listen, we
No, we don't
advise you to study for
study.
your
Yeah,
ass
for
vap if
sure.
this your
Exactly.
plan.
Study. Please don't wing it like me. Don't wing it. You know, I
Cause
wing.
listen, he be on social media flexed up like y'all just joined for 3 years, just joined for 4 years to change your life around.
Man, it's you gotta really be intentional. Like it's more to that, but that's the head. You gotta have that. You want to change your life when you go in there. That's what I went in there thinking. Like I want to change my life. And when you have that mindset, you just pull everything around you that's changing your life. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. And definitely, when you first came on, you talked about, having a solid group of friends. And that's one
Mhm.
thing that I love about the military. Well, I can't say the military as a whole, but definitely the Navy and definitely the command that we came from.
Around that
Yeah.
time I met y'all, man, y'all was some superheroes. Yeah, all of y'all were my mentors at the time. I was looking at y'all like E5s, nice boots. Man, you just was like black people squared away telling me the right things.
Right.
Telling me the right things. And that's the reason why I excelled above my peers so fast in the Navy. Like I made CS2 really, really fast. A lot of people was like, he gonna do 20 years, but I was just super serious. Like I came from nothing. So I'm
Right.
like, man, I said, how y'all, we don't gotta take no tests. I don't gotta go filling out Scantron every day. I don't gotta go to class. All I gotta do it. You say get a pen? I said, oh man, what?
Right. Easy day.
I come from a hustler mentality. Show me the money, I'm gonna go get it. Y'all was all telling me, get your pen bags, get your pen bags. I'm like, oh, well, that's what they saying, dude. I
Listen,
got
once you
that.
get your pen, it's ain't nobody.
I was an E2 with two pens. They was like, oh
Oh,
yeah,
this way on fire. Yeah.
fire,
Yeah. He
yeah.
like that.
I like that feeling too because I wanted to be a part of the elite black and browns on the ship, man. That's what I was thriving for because that's what I was mirroring my success against at the time, And y'all led me in the right direction. A lot of those tools y'all instilled in me, I still use to this day, for real.
And that's a real thing. I think, maybe this is a taboo topic to talk about, but there's like this silent elite group of black people that, was
Yeah,
on our ship.
no, fact.
And we it was like
Mm-hmm. Close
we
knit.
was so locked in,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like we didn't even have to hold each other accountable. We just matched each other's standards. Like,
Match
okay,
each other's
all of us
standards.
gotta have pens,
Yeah,
all of
all
us
of us
gotta
got to.
look good.
Yeah, like it
We
was
gonna
dope.
all look out for each other.
Nah, it was dope. Yeah, no, fact. That's what it was. And touch on the topic of mental health. Being on that ship is really hard, but when you have people around it like that, it's like family.
Yeah.
Those long days turn to fun days. Like everybody asks, like if you could go back and be any other rate, what would you be? I love being a CS. I met all of y'all being a cook.
Yeah.
I met a lot of my best friends to this day were FSAs. Well, if you guys don't know, those are just the attendants that come help the cooks. But some of those are still my best friends. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like that, because I like being around people, relationship, and being a cook. It was like that relationship based. Like you
Yep.
know what I'm
You
saying?
learn how to network.
No, for sure. Yeah, yeah. You use that to your advantage for sure.
Most definitely. Most definitely. And Ollie, I wanna switch gears here. I feel like we
Yeah.
don't talk enough about the anxieties,
Mhm.
um, and like I guess the depressive episodes or loneliness that being in the military can bring, especially when you first starting out, right? Like you don't really know anybody, and then don't mess around and have to go on a deployment.
Yeah. Right. Right
how
away. Right.
how do you how do you deal with that, especially being a black man, especially being a black man from Chicago? Well, let's back up a little bit. What you come from a fairly large family. You have older brothers.
Two older brothers, a younger sister. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so and I know you're close to your mom, you were super
Right.
close to your dad, rest in
Mhm.
peace.
Right.
What was your first introduction with mental health, or as a man coping with stressors as a man in Chicago?
Oh man, you talking you 2019. 2019 was the first time I ever like was conscious of like, oh, you could. No, I'm not gonna lie to you. So this is the thing too. Like the relationship I was in, my son's mother Amanda, she used to talk about it a lot, and I was one of those ones like depression, man. Just just get up, like you ain't
Shake
depressed.
it off.
Shake it off, like what you just get up, like until I went through it myself, and I was like, oh, this is real. It's like a
Yeah.
feeling that you get inside of your stomach whenever you just can't move, you're not motivated, and you don't know why. You want to so bad, but you can't.
Yeah.
So that was like around the first, like 2019. Because when I got out here after deployment, I just was like, okay, that 6 years, that 5 years on that boat was cool. Those deployments was cool, but I have a son now, and I'm not trying to leave him again. What can I do next? And I started to sell life insurance. The dudes that was doing, they was like real nice dudes that was wearing suits, and they was entrepreneur minded people. A lot of them don't do it anymore. None of us really do it anymore, but it was just the connections we made. And they were
Yeah.
talking to
And
me
that
about,
mindset shift.
they was like, man, you need to be reading some books, bro. You need to be working out. You need to be learning about finance, man. You need to be doing this and that. And like when you around so much fire, you feel bad being around these guys and you're not doing nothing. You're not producing. You're not bringing nothing to the table. And so I kind of forced myself to get better because I'm asking these dudes like, man, because they was making money in the business. I'm like, man, how y'all doing this, this, and this? They like, man, you gotta be praying. You gotta be this. You gotta be sharp. And I'm like, bro, I want to make some money. All the dudes that was making money, they was showing me that was super successful with working out. They mental was straight. Their relationships was good. Their kids was good. Like they life was everything that they did reflected their money. The money was just a byproduct of the rest of it. So I'm like,
Man, what?
all right, and I would ask my homie Tim, like that's like my brother, like my mentor, like to this day, like he the reason, bro. I got out the Navy and everything. He just told one day I was just like, bro, I see you working hard, you so consistent. I said, what is like the trick to it? He's like, bro, he simply looked at me and said, bro, it's just God. From that day forward, I swear to you, every year I pray that my relationship with God gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Every year, that's what I pray for. My life has went up ever since that conversation. That was around the time when I stopped talking to God. That's super important with your mental health. You stay connected to a higher power, like
Yeah.
because you're in this world, but you didn't make this world, so you have to be able to like connect to something that makes stuff make sense to you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that was super important. But to answer your question, it was 2019. And you talk about childhood trauma not being resolved. You talk about teenage trauma not being resolved. And you talk about me being an adult, trying to be in a relationship, having a kid. I still don't know what I still don't really know what therapy is. I really don't know what anxiety is. I really don't know what depression is. I really don't know what the brain does. I don't really know my own body. I'm drinking. I'm not eating right.
Yeah.
So around this time, I know like what I'm going through. I'm trying to pivot, and then it just slowly but surely every year I build on it and build and build and build and build. I got older and more mature. You stick your hand in the fire, you're gonna get burnt. You get older,
Every
you're not gonna go
time.
back to that fire. And
Right.
that's what just happened. You just learn from your mistakes and you get wiser over time. And you're like, all right, I knew that wasn't serving my mental back when I was 19. Maybe I shouldn't go down that road again. Just knowing, having more self-awareness and just being cognitive, like, all right, I know that was something that triggered my depression around that time. Maybe I should just
Mm.
environment.
Yeah. Knowing those triggers, what does addressing childhood trauma looks like? What does that look like for you from the Black male perspective? Because I think you are the first Black male that I've heard openly admit to having
Mm-hmm.
childhood trauma. Because and I don't think it's the
Yeah.
Black male's fault. Let me throw that out there. I think that we have not given Black men the permission to say things from their past hurt them.
Yeah.
I don't think that we've
Yeah.
given you
So
guys that
I'm
permission.
I'm
That
gonna be transparent. I'm gonna be real transparent, and you can share this. So my mother was addicted to crack cocaine until about the age of 9. So that just gives you like a blueprint of how my childhood was for a long time. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
so you start to grow up, and you like, all right, we used to do this. This makes sense. So why do I do this and this? And it was building up. It wasn't really the adult trauma that was bothering me. It was a lot of stuff from my childhood. So I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, you got to go back and dig. But for me, my biggest thing was getting real big into like psychology.
Mm.
I started to learn how people were. I started to learn why. And when you learn the world around you and the human body, you start to be like, okay, now it makes sense. It gives you
Yeah.
clarity, right?
Yeah. And I
Just
feel like it gives you It
Mhm.
provides you with a way to give people more
Yeah.
grace.
Yeah, and so I had to just dig back and like have you have to go back and have these uncomfortable conversations with your parents. That's what
Mm.
it is. A lot of people they don't have these, but you know, I have a great mother, and she opened the floor for those conversations. She opened the floor for transparency. She opened the floor for us to talk about her addiction. My mother's over 20 years clean to this day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying, through the grace of God, you can't be delivered for that. So that's where my drive comes from. My big heart is just like, man, I seen what God brought us from as a family. And you look at
Yeah.
the family and nobody would ever know that story.
Yeah.
You know, because nobody wants for anything. You know what I'm saying? We all are well, like you know what I'm saying, we doing pretty good for ourselves. None of my family has to ask each other for money or you know what I'm saying? And that's
Yeah.
big in the black community. When everybody
That's
in your immediate
huge.
family has their own money, their own stuff going on, you know, so that's like I'm just so grateful. You know what I'm saying? So like
That's
yeah,
a unicorn family almost.
yeah, you gotta, and that's how
Because
you
it's
start.
usually only just one person, maybe two if you lucky.
Yeah, it's like one. It's like I was thinking about this. It's always like one key person doing everything, and nobody can ever get anywhere if nobody's contributing equally. And so
Yep.
that was like digging back. Like you have to just have gratitude. That's what like from childhood trauma, just having gratitude. Some things had to be talked about. You know what I'm saying? But just knowing those triggers, like you know, trauma isn't what you went through. It's the long lasting effects of it. So just knowing those, you know what I'm saying, triggers, just knowing the environments and just like having grievance with yourself that sometimes stuff that you went through, you won't have those conversations. You won't have any clarity. It's just like, let's just try to get better. You know what I'm saying? And that's,
Yeah.
man, it's just having conversation with people that's being real with me. You know, the women that I keep around me, you know what I'm saying? One of them told me, she was just like, you just like to use yourself as a punching bag. Like you just like to just bring it up over and over again, just to use yourself as a punching bag. Just like sometimes you really not going through nothing. You just want people to like sympathize for you. And I had to like really sit back and take that in and be like, sometimes I do that.
Mm.
That why me mentality all the time.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? But you're in a well off position where 100% of people will want to be.
Yeah.
You just have to be grateful. Like sometimes it won't get answered for you. Sometimes you won't get that clarity of why you did have to go through this. Just know it's all in God's plan. And
Yeah.
I'm great today. You know what I'm saying? I'm blessed. So, mm-hmm.
You talk about, you said sometimes you have to have these tough conversations, and in order to heal these childhood traumas,
Right.
sometimes you have to talk to your parents. And I also deal with childhood trauma, but unfortunately my mother has passed away, and I know that you
Mm-hmm.
can empathize with that, with losing your father not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
In a situation where you don't have access to your parents, how would one go about trying to resolve things from their past if they don't necessarily have the avenues like talking things out with their parents?
Me personally is if you can't get to the source, get to the greater source.
I
That's
know
just
that's
thought
right.
about it. I'm not a big advocate of giving out too much. Like talk to God. That's what helped me. I can't even speak on nobody else. I could just speak for myself. That's
Yeah.
the first person I go to. I always tell people all the time. If you go to a friend for advice and the first thing they tell you is, "Hey, I'm gonna give you some advice, but I think you should talk to God about it first. But I'm gonna give you my advice too. You probably shouldn't be seeking counsel from Talk
Yeah.
to God about it. You have it's more spiritual than anything. It's all a matter of how you think, and God can relieve anxiety, can relieve stress over time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you can't have those, just and some like I was saying before, sometimes it's just coming to terms with these answers won't be answered, but how can I move forward from it? You know what I mean? Like that. Sometimes you won't get those answers that you want for, but you don't want to have two dead people. You know, one person living that can't live and the one that's already deceased. You know, a lot of people they stay with the dead. You got to keep living. You know what I'm saying? I
Yep.
say that all the time. They will want you to keep living regardless. Like if you letting their trauma affect you and they passed away and it still affect you while you living, that's not good. You want to
No.
you know what I'm saying? Let it go. It's easier said than done because I've had to do it, but I had to make like terms with a lot of things that I didn't get answers for. And you just like you're in a grateful situation. You look around and you know maybe you didn't have your dad or maybe you didn't have your mom, but you see people that didn't have their mom or dad, or you see people that didn't have a mom and they like, man, I wish I had a mom. You just got to be
Right.
grateful for what you have because the grass
Right.
isn't always greener. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-mm. The grass is green where you water it at.
right.
Ollie, I saw this post not too long ago, probably like yesterday, as a matter of fact, but it was like, we all are dealing with childhood trauma, yet we show children no grace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How are you, as it relates to your son and fatherhood, especially black?
Right.
You're raising a black male. You're
Mhm.
raising this black little boy, and the world is not nice to black men.
No, not at all.
The world is not nice to y'all. So what are you instilling in him surrounding mental health
Mm-hmm. It's
that
crazy.
you wish you would have known, or tools you would have been given? How are you kind of changing the curve in parenting as it relates to your son?
So, so that's a great question. So a lot of times in my relationships, man, I was taught, don't cry, man, suck it up. And you hear this a lot, and it sounds so cliche for most men, but it's a thing for every man. So when I got older and started getting into relationships, I used to suppress how I feel so much until it all bottled up and then I exploded. And I used to do this over and over and over again. I never knew how to express my feelings when they unfolded right then and there because I felt like I was never in the right place to say it. Like, you a man, you're not supposed to be feeling like that.
Yeah.
Right. So one thing that I instill in my son is that, hey, son, this world is very problematic. You can go cry, man. You can go let those emotions out. But
Yeah.
just know, I care about your emotions, but that problem you facing doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Every new problem, every new challenge is going to come with emotions. So you have to deal with those emotions. That's a byproduct. You have to deal with the emotions. Deal with them. Let it out. Cry. But just know, son, you still going to have to get it done. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's what I let them know. Like, this world comes with challenges. And I wish I would have known that, man. You could talk about your problems. Just be around people that can serve you through those problems, because everybody not your friend. You know what I'm saying? I wish,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I wish, like, I would have been told to just stick to one woman. Like, I wish it was nailed in my head to just wait until marriage to have sex. Things like this is
Talk
things
about
that
it.
I'm going to teach my son. I don't be bringing people around my son. You know what I'm saying? I don't be just taking him in certain environments. But I don't want to, coddle him to the point where, you know what I'm saying? Because the world, he's going to have to face it too. That's a big
Right.
too. At some point, your son, you can coddle him in the house and protect him, but at some point, he's going to be a grown man and he has to learn how to be out there in society. You know what I mean? So this world is crazy. Just being that third line of defense, like he goes to school, it has to be parents over peers because those are the people they're around the most. They're influenced. They're very impressionable at that age. So when your kids coming home talking to you about these things, really listen to your kids, because some things that they say may catch a red flag. If you're ignoring your kids' conversation because their little voices can be annoying sometimes, you might miss some things that they really want to let you know.
Yeah.
So my conversations after Angelo has been around people that, you know what I'm saying, aren't his family. I just like to listen to him and, you know what I'm saying, see what he's saying.
And cipher through. Yeah.
Yeah, cipher through these thoughts and emotions, because kids' emotions and thoughts are at the front of their brain. They're
Always.
not
Yeah.
gonna let you forget anything that they're trying to tell you. They're gonna tell you. So just, I just like to listen and, you know what I'm saying, what? And just question and see, so just paying attention to them and just like being more gentle. Cause I started out real harsh, hitting them all the time, yelling, cursing. But for men out there, if you want to be better parents, just you gotta study, you gotta learn, you know what I'm saying? Learn psychology, learn child development. It's
Yeah.
really key. You know what I'm saying? It's really key. And through child development, I've learned that we do parenting all wrong.
Yeah.
And there's certain research and things that can back up gentle parenting actually working
Yeah.
better than like beating your kids. Like they say, like if you want to get your kids to do anything, a lot of people say take stuff away, but it's really the rewarding system that works the best to get your kids to do anything. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Just learning, being just willing to learning new. If you don't want to learn new and you don't want to parent new, then you're gonna parent old, but just know it's gonna have them same effects on your child, and it's gonna be a trickle down effect. I wanted
Right.
to change it. I wanted to be the one to try to change, you know what I'm saying, that dynamic and like that, So
And you know what? Every time I go to therapy, it's like sometimes, and I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but sometimes I think I'm parenting in fear.
mhm.
And that's something that I want, especially millennial black parents, to really have a face-to-face conversation with themselves about. We are the generation of curse breakers. We are the generation of change. We are, the they call us the new millennials for a reason. So we introduced this gentle parenting thing. And I feel like a lot of times, where I can't speak for everybody, but for me, it was my parenting style, I don't really think I'm a gentle parent. I'm more of like a generational curse breaker parent.
Yeah, I guess that's what you would call me too. Just like not like just
Yeah, because
somewhere in the
sometimes
middle.
these kids not gentle. They don't gentle kid.
Somewhere in the middle for sure. Being more
Definitely
understanding.
somewhere in the
Letting
middle.
them talk. Because I didn't get that. That's one thing that I didn't mention.
Letting them
Letting them
talk.
talk. My mom would just tell me, just shut up, get out.
Letting them ask why.
Yeah, that's that. I let Angela ask why, because that's one thing that really I hated growing up. She never wanted to tell me why. Like, I tell him why, and then after that, I'm like, I told you why. Now just get it done for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I just wanted an explanation. You telling me I
Yeah.
can't go outside? I just tell me why. If it makes sense, then I'm done.
Right.
Or
But
even
if it don't, I ain't gonna go outside
even if it
anyway.
don't make sense. But like when you do that, man, you stop your kids from asking questions too. And a lot of creativity
Yes.
comes from asking questions and being curious.
Yes.
You know, so all this stuff that we're doing is a program system that was set up to just keep us where we are mentally.
Yes.
Challenging your questioning system is very bad for kids. They need to keep that creative spark all the way up into their adults. Don't kill it, because if you kill it, like even with their dreams, like it's good to discipline your kids, but not with their dreams. Never tell them they can and cannot do something. If they feel like they
Right.
can jump out a window, tell them, son, one day you'll be able to jump out of 6. You know what I'm saying? That's very important when they develop, and that's super important. That's one
Right.
thing my mom always did, and that's why I'm so confident to this day. My mom, it never was a time through my childhood or whenever when she was ever telling us we couldn't do something. It was, whatever you do, son, you're gonna be the best at it. Whatever you do, son, you're gonna be the best at it. That's why I love her so much to this day. Because I see how important that is. And little boys, like, pouring into them. She always poured into us. You know what I'm saying? So that's super important. Definitely.
Most definitely. And then circling back, like, the fear thing, I think sometimes we parent in a way that we don't want to repeat the same mistakes
Mm-hmm.
that our parents made. But it's like you said, it's taking what we've learned through therapy, through the studies of psychology,
Mm-hmm.
and then trying to apply it so that our kids don't have to relive that trauma.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think the generation that the millennials are raising, they're gonna be way more dope. I think
No,
they're
for
gonna
sure.
do miraculous things
Mm-hmm.
because we're able to parent them in a way where without so many restrictions mentally.
Yeah. Social media was a big part of that. You see a
Talk
lot of
about it.
people. You see a lot of people like, man, maybe let me try that. Hey, did you know, man? Let me try that. Man, let me try
Yeah.
that. It has
As
a
much
lot
as we like to clown
talk
social
about how
media,
social media, it really helped a lot. Really,
it does.
really
It
did. Really
really, really
did.
does.
It gave communities, Facebook pages, like the access to information. So the more information we get, the better we can be as parents, because the more you can learn. If you're having a difficult time with your child or whatever, this turned into something totally different. But yeah,
Mhm.
but that's all a part of mental health. Dealing with kids is all a part of it.
Yeah,
Especially being parent,
definitely.
especially
Definitely.
for the mothers, you know what I'm saying? It's the dads too, you know what I'm saying? But because you got to be there fully for your kids, you know what I'm saying? So just spending time by yourself too, making sure you get time by yourself. That's important.